happy bloody birthday to this here Booktube channel. Guys, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years since I uploaded my first Booktube video, which is amazing because I am a girl who loves a pipe dream, who loves a project. You'll have seen projects come and go on here and on my Instagram. But the fact that I have maintained this Booktube channel, where, well, I call it Booktube channel, YouTube channel, whereby I talk in the main about books, but there's other stuff that sort of comes in and out, for 10 years is just unbelievable. We've been through some backgrounds, and do let me know in the comments how long you've been here for, would be interested. But I started, just to indulge in a bit of history before we get on to what this video is about. I started when I lived with David, and we had a Mickey Mouse wallpaper. Do you remember that Mickey Mouse wallpaper? Which I thought was a great background, and I was right, it was a great background, because often people refer to the Mickey Mouse wallpaper. But didn't film in front of bookshelves or anything like that. I was in front of the Mickey Mouse wallpaper. And then we lived there for a little bit, and then we moved, and then I had a little sort of bookish corner, do you remember, with like a glass panel, smaller bookshelf, and eventually a bigger bookshelf. And that had some sort of like lights and stuff like that. And I think that's where I first put my books in rainbow order. And then we moved here, and we've been here, I think 7 years now. And we've had different sort of setups, and also like I don't always film in front of the books here anymore, but we've had like different chairs, and at Christmas when the table gets moved over here. But yeah, we've been from all those backgrounds. There's been come-ins and go-ins. There's been some real high points. Have there been low points? I don't know that there have. Maybe sort of creative low points for me. But yeah, we've been through lockdown together with the Cozy Reading Night, Stay at Home Club. We did one of those every other Friday throughout the different lockdowns, which were lovely, and sort of mixed them up a bit, didn't we? We did some live shows, some were on Instagram, sometimes they were really long extended ones. We did some cozy reading weekends, and then more recently, I guess, the Friday reading vlogs have really taken off, which has been lovely. I've been through a lot of changes, so I've worked at the NHS for the majority of the time I've been at this channel, and managed to negotiate a bit of time off so I could spend a bit more time on the channel, and then managed to negotiate a little bit more time off. Then I've moved jobs and still managed to keep that time off, so still I'm able to do the Friday reading vlogs. And David's been here, Minnie's been here, Minnie's gone now, and now we've got Dappy. There's been some real changes, and it's been lovely to have you join us along the way. And every comment and every like and everything on Instagram, and it's been really, really nice to hear from everybody throughout the years. And yeah, here's to the next 10 years, because I don't see myself ever stopping doing this. I love doing this. I get the same thrill when I upload a video now as I did when I first started. Maybe even more of a thrill now, because for the first sort of 6 months I was just shouting at no one, or occasionally like somebody I knew would watch one of those videos. But yeah, then it took off a little bit, and here we are where we are. So thank you very much. Happy 10 years. I will link down below my first ever Booktube video. Go and have a little look at her, because she's ever so cute and nervous. I don't even think I'd committed to saying my name at the beginning of the video. I was a bit like, whoa. Now that's just sort of second nature, really. But yeah, I call it a book haul, but I think what I mean is that it's a TBR, it's what I plan to read. But yeah, go and have a little look at that. But we're here today. I asked on Instagram, and we can continue this in the comments below, for you guys to let me know what books you've read because of this Booktube channel. So what books you've read because of me over the years. And we got pages of suggestions and books that people have read, but I've capped it at 10. So I've taken the 10 top scorers. There's some surprises in there, there's some absolute non-surprises in there. But before we get onto those, I guess the 2 things I will mention, which has filled my heart with joy, was 2 answers that weren't books or authors. They were sort of bookish things. And so many people said that they read the Women's Prize long list or short list or winners because of this channel. And that just blows my mind, because I love the Women's Prize. It's something I followed before I'd even started Booktube. I remember it well. The first time I came into contact with it, I was watching Sunday Brunch, and Grace Dent was one of the judges that year, and she was talking about the books that were on the short list that year. And one of them was The Bees by Leyline Paul. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this prize sounds amazing. Female authors, 6 books. And I hadn't got into my reading groove then. So I was sort of like reading books off the Richard and Judy book club list, or I'd look at lists of books that were being made into films, because I thought, oh, if they're being made into films, they must be good books. Or I'd find an author I liked and then just read all of their back list. So to find this book, this sort of like 6 curated books, I was delighted about that. So it's something I've followed for a long time, and then more recently, it's something I've got really, really hyped about. I mean, we all on Booktube sort of call it Bookish Christmas, don't we? Where we get very excited with a long list of 16 books to read that then gets whittled down to 6, and yeah. And in last year when they launched the non-fiction Women's Prize, that was also super exciting, and this year I have loved the books I've read from the non-fiction prize. I think some of them will remain favourites of mine for a very long time. So yeah, so to hear that people have read books from the Women's Prize because of this channel, that absolutely thrills me. So number one was that, and then the other one was the fact that I've got a Patreon book club, which is always linked down below, and if you'd like to join, please do. We meet on the last Sunday of every month. It's a live show, and we talk about the book that we've read that month, and there's a different theme every month. This month it's we're reading The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery, because we're reading books by L.M. Montgomery. But next month the theme is travel, and we're reading Abroad in Japan by Chris Broad. We've got some great themes coming up. But yeah, so many people commented to say they're a current member, they've been a member, they joined for Christmas because it started as a Christmas book club, and sort of to thank me for that, which has also been lovely, because it is genuinely one of the things I look forward to doing every single month. I'm like, getting to the end of the month, now I've got to read the book, know that I've got a really lovely evening of bookish chat come in, and yeah, so thank you to those people who mentioned the Patreon book club as well. But let's get on to the 10 most read books, 10 books, top 10 books you've read because of this channel. Now the top one isn't, the one that you think's going to be top is number 2. But the top one was the Cazalet Chronicles, which is really exciting because it's one I've read sort of more recently, I guess. This is my lovely, lovely selection. So David's mum bought me, oh God, they're so full of mini fluff. No, not mini fluff, daddy fluff. That's because I've mentioned mini. Because they're normally up on my top shelves, which is where I keep all my favourite books. And she sometimes likes to go up there and these get attached. But yeah, so these are these beautiful editions. So David's mum bought me 1 and 2 for Christmas a couple of years ago. I'd never even heard of them, and I managed to get the other 3 in these editions where the spines line up and like make out a little scene. They've also got lovely, lovely front covers from a charity shop, so I was very excited. And then I put the other ones on my wish list, and gradually people bought them for me off my wish list, which was so lovely. So we've got the set. I'll show you how the set looks when they're up on the shelves, because they're just beautiful. It's a little thing like that. So the first one is The Light Years. The second one is Marking Time. Then we've got, I'll hold them up, The Light Years. Then we've got Marking Time. Then we've got Confusion. And then we've got Casting Off. And then we've got All Change. And they're a 5 book long series about the Cazalet family. And we're hearing about the Cazalet family. We start off hearing about the sort of brothers in that Cazalet family, Hugh, Edward, and, what did I say, Rupert? Rupert, well done. And we're hearing about their parents and their wives and their children, but their children are children, so we're not hearing all that much about it. And then as you get on, you hear less about the grandparents because they die, and you're hearing more about the children and then their marriages and their children and their friendships and stuff like that. And it is just such an amazing place to be, and to hear about these families over wartime and over a big change in the UK. The way it flows into each different character was just, I just loved hearing about all of them. There was no one I thought, oh, I could hear less about that. I just loved hearing about all of them. Louise is one of my favourite characters. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. I think I'm really torn between my favourites. Obviously The Light Years is great. And that was the one that introduced me. And we read that for Patreon Book Club as well, so that was really, really lovely to read. But also, All Change is set over Christmas, not just over Christmas, but everybody's returning. It's in the this is set in the 1950s, and everyone's returning to the house for one final Christmas before they sell it, the house that they used to go to every summer. So yeah, there's a lot, and the children have grown up, and there's a lot of drama going on and all of this sort of stuff. So I really, really love that, and I read that in December, which was lovely. And I remember actually reading it on when David and I went away for an anniversary holiday, reading it in a beautiful place where we've been for our anniversary holiday, and being in the bath in front of the fire and everything just being lovely. So yeah, these are definitely due a reread for me. It's been a couple of years since I read them, not last year, the year before, so 2 years. But yeah, absolutely great. I've also got the DVD. Somebody bought me that off my wish list as well, which was lovely. The DVD of this series, which has got Hugh Bonneville in it and Joanna Page amongst others. But yeah, it's a great series. It's a great, great series. But I was thrilled to see it on the list, and I imagined it would appear on the list, but I didn't think it would be top. The one I thought would be top is second, like I said, and that was Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, which remains my favourite Daphne du Maurier book. I also really like The Scapegoat as well. And what was the one I read last year that I really, really liked? The Parasites I really loved last year as well. But yeah, Rebecca is the book, and I wouldn't have read this had it not been from Booktube, because this is one of Simon's favourite books, and I sort of read it because of his influence, and have reread it again and again because I love it so much. I've done sort of like readathons dedicated to Daphne du Maurier. Do you remember Daphne du Maurier May? Was that last year or the year before? Whereby in May we read all books by Daphne du Maurier, and books inspired by Daphne du Maurier, and books that maybe Daphne took inspiration for. Also named my cat Daphne after Daphne du Maurier. But Rebecca is amazing. The way it's sort of constructed is wonderful. So if you haven't read Rebecca before, Rebecca refers to one of the characters in this, his ex-wife, who has died. We're following a nameless narrator who, whilst on holiday working as a companion to an older lady, meets this chap called Max de Winter, who's sort of very pompous and egotistical, and apparently they fall in love with one another, and she ends up going back to Manderley, which may be the famous place that you might have heard of, and living there with him and his staff in this house, which has just got remnants and reminders of Rebecca all over it. And there's some great dramatic scenes in here, and build up, and yeah, it's really atmospheric. It's just fantastic. It's just my favourite book. It's so, so good. So yeah, love it. Would love to know if you've read it. Would love to know if you've got a favourite Daphne du Maurier that isn't Rebecca. Yeah, loved it. Next up is one that I haven't got here, and that's The Appeal. So The Appeal came third by Janice Hallett. I really, really enjoyed this book very, very much. However, I haven't loved any of other Janice Hallett's other books. So The Appeal is a murder mystery book told in sort of like a multimedia way, whereby we're reading sort of like parish council minutes and notes left to one another and emails and all sorts. And a lot of her books are in that format, but this was the first one I'd read, and if I hadn't have had life to get on with, then I would have absolutely just sat there and read the whole thing. And the sort of testament to that is the fact that David read it in a whole weekend, which is completely unheard of. What Janice Hallett has done in this book is she has got you absolutely gripped with a series of, you know something's going to happen, some of the characters are awful, you want to find out more about them, you want to find out who's going to be the person who's potentially not the person that's potentially involved in this. And yeah, the title is also quite clever as well. But yeah, it was very, very enjoyable, very exciting. But like I said, I haven't loved her other books as much, which is a shame. But I think there's something to be said about that being like one special book written in a different style that you're unused to, and that just being a wow moment. And it really was a wow moment for me. So there was The Appeal. Then we've got the HMRC series, and I've got this here book to represent that, but I actually listen to the series now. The audiobooks are done by Nicola Coughlan, her from Bridgerton and Dairy Girls, and they're amazing. She does the voices amazing. But this is a great series written by Juno Dawson, and it is a series of the third one is out very soon. Well, no, sorry, the fourth one, because there is like a little novella that comes out that's about Anne Boleyn and her court, and it's about modern witches who are living in Hebden Bridge, and these witches all have different sort of powers, and they're part of a coven, and yeah, then there's sort of like a bit of a civil war going on, and we're talking about a war that's happened in the past, and yeah, there's just lots and lots of drama. I need to go back and re-listen to, I'm doing a lot of re-listening at the moment because the Nevermore series, which was one that was mentioned but didn't make the list, she's got a new book out as well. So yeah, so I've got a lot of books have come out in May that I need to go back and listen to the series to catch up, so I want to re-listen to these as well. But yeah, great, exciting, and the audiobooks are top, so very, very good. Then this one I also absolutely knew would be on it, because I cannot believe the amount of time people have told me like that they have bought this book. And this is like people on Booktube, people in real life, just so many people have bought The Green Roasting Tin because of this channel, by Rukmini Iyer. There's a whole series of Roasting Tin books. The first one was called The Roasting Tin. I believe this was the second one. And it's a book whereby, it's a recipe book whereby you chop things up, put them in a tin, and then put them in the oven. And there is some of the best cooking that I've ever done out of this, and when I have people come round, this is always my first go-to, because it's so easy just to chop, put things in a roasting tray, and then when your guests arrive, stick it in there for 45 minutes, and then you've got, and I normally do sort of like 2 or 3 if I've got a lot of people round. The leftovers from this are amazing. You can see that I folded over the majority of the pages because I've made almost everything out of it. And yeah, I absolutely love this. This is one of my, I was gonna tell you my favourite. So my favourite, I've got a few favourites. So this one is all in one sticky rice with broccoli, squash, chilli and ginger. That is one of my absolute favies. And do let me know if you've got this, what your favourites are, because I would love to know. Then we've got the Lux Winter Salad with roast potatoes and celeriac with, I don't put truffle on it because I don't like it, truffle, parmesan and soft boiled eggs, which looks like that. And then, where's my favourite quiche? And it's separated into vegan and, oh God, I'm flicking through here and thinking that's my favourite as well. Where is it? It's separated into, oh, this one. There we go. Carrot and taleggio tart tatin, which is like a sort of bit of a, it feels like a bit of a quiche, but it's lovely. But yeah, amazing book, amazing cookbook, one of my favourites ever. None of the other Roasting Tin books have lived up to this, but that's fine because I've got this Bible and that is fine. So yes, let me know. Next up is, first time this author appears on this list, is Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang. I loved this book so much. I was so excited when it came out, and what are you doing, Dippy? She's just treading the litter all over the ensuite, I imagine, because I've just hoovered up in there. And yes, it was a great discussion point. I was very, very excited. And it's a book about sort of, it's so hard not to tell you what happens in here without telling you what happens. But if I tell you the sort of premise, so we've got two women, Athena Lou and June Hayward, and they are sort of loose friends, and Athena is an incredibly successful author, and June has had sort of like middling success, but not, she's nowhere near Athena is. And on a night out, Athena's talking about this book that she's written. She hasn't told anybody about it because that's the way she operates. And then at the end of the night, there's a tragic accident and she dies. And June takes on this book as her own, I'm really sure plagiarism is the word I'm thinking of, and plagiarises it and takes it on as her own. But there's also, as well as that being bad, there's also stuff in there about cultural appropriation, because Athena is of Chinese heritage, and June takes on a lot of that from the book and says that yeah, and there's just a lot that unwinds from it. So it's very sort of atmospheric. At one point I even thought it was going to get a bit sort of extraterrestrial really at some point, and a bit sort of ghosty, but yeah, very, very well done, and I really, really loved this a lot. Then we've got Pet, which was one of my favourites from last year. This is exciting that, like, although the sort of like big time classics like Rebecca and like Green Roasting Tin are appearing, I'm also excited that like recent books that I've read are appearing as well. So Pet by Catherine Chidgey, I've read 2 books by Catherine Chidgey, and I've got 2 more to read by her that I own are on my shelves, and she writes such different books every time, like it almost feels like they're by completely different authors. This one is great. This is another one where like maybe not another one, this is one where the front cover like means so much by the end and you're like, oh, that's really, really clever. But anyway, we're following Justine, who's 12, and she is, oh, there's a very cute dog outside. She is desperate to be the pet of her school teacher, like everybody else in her classes. And their teacher, whose name I've forgotten. I've forgotten her name. Mrs. Price. Is it Mrs. Price? Yeah. Yeah, and she will give them little jobs to do and stuff like that, and there's sort of like a hierarchy, and like if you're in her favour, then you're popular in the class and stuff like that. And anyway, Mrs. Price starts dating Justine's father, and things go on from there. Very, very, very well written. Very, very, very exciting. We read this for Patreon Book Club last year as well. They're so excited that books that we've read for Patreon Book Club are appearing on here as well. Yeah, we had a great discussion about it, so there we go. Next up was the 6 Tudor Queens series, which was also lovely. Should have mentioned that at the beginning. That's taken a big part of the channel as well. So I went to see Six the Musical a couple of years ago and loved it, and decided I wanted to know more about these women, and found out that Alison Weir had written 6 massive books, sort of based on fact, but very much enhanced in terms of fiction, so about each of these women, and I spent a summer and a little bit beyond that reading all of those books and dressing like the queens that were based on Six the Musical, and listening to that, and watching TV programmes based on them. Very much had a lovely time watching the Catherine of Aragon show, and yeah, and reading other things to do with other queens. There's a lot more on Anne Boleyn, as you can imagine, than there are on the other queens, and yeah, had a great time doing that. And there are other ones that definitely need revisiting. What also made me very pleased is that I got all of those books out of the library and read them all from the library, and when I looked at them recently, they've all got really long reservations on, which is so nice because they're books that have been out a really long time. So yeah, I loved doing that. And that's definitely due a reread as well. Lucky I like to reread. There we go. Then we've got, and this one I also knew would be appearing, Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams. I love this book. This sort of reminds me of lockdown a bit. Again, covered in Dappy's fluff. This reminds me a bit of lockdown because David read this during lockdown, and I remember there's a very specific memory I've got of David and I being allowed to go back to Leeds Castle because they'd opened it up after when sort of like the first phase of lockdown, or first phase of like opening up happened, and it was very well planned, and you all had time slots, and it was a one-way system. And I remember David and I, him taking this book and me taking The Vanishing Half, which is another one a lot of people mentioned as well, and going and sitting under a tree and taking a picnic and sitting under a tree and just having the sort of like the first normal day following that. And I remember David reading this and having a great time. So, and also I love it when David reads books that I read, because then we can discuss them, and I love that. So yeah, so this has sort of been described as like Black Bridget Jones, and I guess there's aspects of that in terms of like, we've got a single, oh nice bookmark, we've got a single woman, Queenie, who's sort of dealing with dating and friends and family and all those sorts of things. But there's also sort of like more layers to this, because obviously she is black, so there's more sort of like experiences that she would have to deal with on that side of things. And also it's not like funny like Bridget Jones, in that there's some real experiences in here. And I think the portrayal of Queenie's mental health in here is probably the closest I've ever read to how I've felt when I've been suffering with anxiety. So it really spoke to me that way as well. Queenie herself is great, and I love the sort of characters that surround her as well. I really think this is due a reread as well. I mean, maybe what I should have done is, for my 10-year anniversary, I should have asked you guys about this and then reread those books. But I mean, would I have been able to read the 5 Cazalet Chronicles, the HMRC series, all of that, all of the 6 Tudor Queens books? But yeah, I mean, here we are. And maybe that's something I should have done. But yeah, loved this one, would highly recommend. And then the last one on this list was Babel, also by R.F. Kuang, which is one that I've read twice because I loved it so much. I actually think I prefer it to Yellowface. It's a completely different book, but yeah, it really gave me sort of His Dark Materials feels, in terms of like, it's like this dark academia novel, and we're following this young lad who's sort of been rescued from China after his family fell unwell and brought back to this place Babel, which is sort of like, there's a magic system there which deals with imbibing silver bars with word pairs, stay with me, to make this silver bar then be able to assist with things. So like you might get the word, so the one I always use is that there's the French word for, so they might take the French word and the Chinese word for steady and imbibe those words, and then they can insert these silver bars into carriages and it will make them run steadily. And then, as is always the case, whoa, the books are falling over, as is, definitely it's going over, as is always the case, that then gets taken advantage of, and then it starts getting used in sort of weapons and stuff like that. And this is, like I said, a dark academia novel, and yeah, I loved it. I read it and then I listened to it. I really, really, really enjoyed it. So there we go. So those are the 10 top books that you guys have read because of this channel. It has been a pleasure going through these and revisiting. I'll just give you a few little highlights of some other ones that we didn't mention, that I'm not going to go into. This is just sort of like a running off of a list. But we also had Anne of Green Gables, The Vanishing Half, as I mentioned. Big Bones was a big one. The Christmas Chronicles, the Nigel Slater book that I've read. We've got Nevermore, I mentioned that also. Hedge Witch series, The Centre, which is one I've read this year, which was very exciting. Grown Ups by Marion Keyes. I had a few mentions of Marion Keyes herself, actually. Eat Up, which was a Ruby Tandoh book I read many, many years ago. Slug by Holly McNish. Shy Creatures, one that I've read this year as well. All Fours, another one that I've read this year. Nesting, one that I've read this year. Life After Life. And yeah, and that's not even including the Tidal Zone and Names for the Sea, which is another one I thought might appear. But that's not even including the ones that just got one vote. There was hundreds that just got one vote. So yes, thank you so much for taking part. If you didn't let me know, then do let me know down below a book that you have read because of this channel. Let me know how long you've been here, and thank you so much for all of the love, and happy birthday to the channel. And I'll see you all again soon for another Booktube video. Goodbye.